Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What happens is when people come in late, yes, what is your name? Sean. Roshan. Let's welcome Roshan to the temple. Yes, ma'am. Naima. Let's welcome Naima. Anyone else here for the very first time? Yes, ma'am. Padma. Let's welcome Padma to the temple. Anyone else for the very first time? Yes. Narsimhachari. Narsimhachari. Chandrakala.
Chandrakala.
Chandrakala. Let's welcome Chandrakala. Anyone else here for the very first time? Anyone else here for the second time? Thank you. As most of you know that he travels extensively all around the world inspiring people in their spiritual lives. And he primarily focuses on encouraging young students to take up to some sort of spiritual practice. And he has also written several books on spirituality, and he's here with us, so he will be speaking and encouraging us in our spiritual life today. So if we could all please put our hands together and welcome Devamrita Swami.
Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Achyutandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we'll discuss the theme of whether having material desires, the thirst for material achievement and enjoyment, does that disqualify you from approaching Krishna and engaging in Krishna service? So often it is thought that bhakti, rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is for those who are completely free from material attachment. Whereas when you're in the supposed stage of life in which you're supposed to dedicate yourself to material expansion, at that time it is not good to worship Krishna. The notion is that Krishna bhakti is not good for your material achievement. The idea is that when you are in your 60s and 70s, after you have spent a lifetime of material endeavor, then that might be the good time for considering engagement in Krishna service. But while you are young, or while you are in your middle ages, that's the time for expanding your personal empire and leaving a big empire behind for your children and grandchildren. So therefore, sometimes a person feels that, how can I engage in Krishna's service effectively when I have these attachments for material life? I have the thirst for material expansion. I'm disqualified. Often such persons will take to worship of the devas, the demigods, because, especially as you know in India, it is felt that worshiping the demigods is more conducive because they hear requests for material development. Whereas Krishna is not known to be very receptive for our material ambitions. That's the idea. That's the notion. So let us discuss that. We're going to base our presentation on the very well-known history of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, given in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to zero in on the dynamics of Dhruva Maharaj's situation. He went through a calamity, an enormous setback, which you would think would discourage someone from wanting to live life in a higher way. What to speak of live life in a Krishna conscious way. The natural line of thinking is that since Dhruva was born in such an illustrious family, why did he have to go through such an ordeal? It's not fair. Yes, we all know he ended up as an extraordinary devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But why did he have to go through a crisis in the first place? So let's look at the situation. Dhruva's great-grandfather is Lord Brahma. His grandfather is Swami. His father is Maharaj Dhamma. Like every extraordinarily powerful Vedic emperor, Maharaj Dhamma had more than one wife. I don't don't recommend that you try this. One of the symptoms of the age of Kali, predicted by Shukadeva Swami in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when he enumerates all the woes of the present age that we're in now, he foresaw it. One of those woes is Daksham Kutumba Bhananam. In the age of Kali, this present age of darkness and nescience, a man is known as very expert, Daksha, if he can maintain a wife and 2 children. And it's considered a great achievement in this present age. Whereas in previous ages, as described in the Vedic literature, a man could maintain many wives and many children. But now, if you simply have 1 wife and 2 children, and you're maintaining them nicely, you are considered very extraordinary. So, Maharaj Uttanapad had a favorite wife. These intricacies are there in such a complex situation. Swamijee was the apple of his eye. He had another wife, Dhruva's mother, Suniti. She was like an outcast, rejected. Persona non grata. So Dhruva, as we said, was born of Swamijee. And so Dhruva had a half-brother, born of the other wife, Swamijee. The half-brother's name was Uttama. So Dhruva, one day, he's around 5 years old. How old are you? 9. Oh, you're not 5. 9. So, Dhruva noticed that his half-brother was on the lap of his father, Maharaj Uttanapad, receiving such affection, the embrace of his father. So, naturally, Dhruva also wanted to climb on his father's lap and receive such affection. So he tried to do that. Nothing wrong with that, nothing unusual, to be expected. But his father noticed that his favorite wife was watching. So even though, try to understand this, especially those of you who have heard this history before, let's try to understand the personal dynamics. Even though the father, Uttanapad, was affectionate to Dhruva, he was afraid to show that because the favorite wife was watching. The wife who was not the mother of Dhruva Maharaj. So therefore he checked himself and would not acknowledge Dhruva's trying to climb on his lap. So Dhruva was perplexed. And his father gave no explanation. But his favorite wife gave a long purport, a long explanation. With words that sliced through Dhruva like a knife. She told him, you may have noticed some problem in climbing on your father's lap and receiving some attention. Let me explain why. You are born from the wrong wife. It seems that everything is equal. My son, born from me, and you, born from the other wife. But no, there's a problem here. And then she began to explain to him. You took birth from the wrong womb, and therefore how can you expect to be recognized by your father? If you want to correct the situation, here's what you should do. You should perform severe austerities and penances. And then when you die, in your next life, you may have the good fortune of taking birth from my womb. This is a very eloquent and Vedic way of saying, drop dead. Perform severe austerities and penances, and in your next birth, in other words, die, in your next birth, you might be able to take birth from my womb and then have a chance to be recognized by your father. Dhruva was devastated. And we'll talk more about his devastation later. Try to understand a 5-year-old boy hearing such words. He ran to find his mother. And the Bhagavatam describes that his insides, his innards were like, feeling like a snake that had been hit with a stick. When he reached his mother, other residents of the palace were already filling in his mother on what had happened. And his mother grieved so piteously. She felt like a leaf burning in a forest fire. Have you ever been in such situations in which you feel so powerless? Like Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita? An alternate name for that first chapter, besides observing the battlefield of Kurukshetra, another name is the Yoga of Despair. Arjuna was so overcome by the apparent insurmountable difficulty of his situation. He told Krishna, whatever option I choose will be problematic. I don't see how any good could come out of this situation. If we fight and win, so many of those with whom we should be celebrating with will be dead because they're on the other side. And of course, if we lose, that's also a devastation. Win or lose, it's problematic. I'm between a rock and a hard place. Excruciating situation, which, as you know, ended up with Arjuna dropping his bow, sitting down in the chariot saying, Govinda, I shall not fight. Of course, he left himself open for instruction from Govinda. Now you find Suniti and Dhruva in the same kind of excruciating circumstances. And that's the nature of this world. We cannot blame Krishna when we go through excruciating, painful circumstances. We should understand the nature of material existence. So Suniti felt, indeed, like a leaf burning in a forest fire. Powerless, no options. And she began to explain to him, you're coming to me so aggrieved. You're coming to me so painful, filled with such pain. You're approaching me because I'm your mother and you want affection. But what can I do in this situation? First of all, let me advise you, don't wish ill or inauspiciousness on anyone. Because naturally, a 5-year-old boy who's been so insulted and demolished by his stepmother, his father's other wife, naturally he wants to strike back. But his mother told him, don't retaliate. Don't wish ill on anyone. And she explained that as for me, it's true. Your father no longer acknowledges me. It's not simply that he ignores me as his wife, but he doesn't even treat me like I'm a maidservant. I'm just a non-entity in the palace. But I accept that as my karma. Whatever I'm going through is a reaction to my past life's activities. And what you definitely shouldn't do is seek material retaliation. And then she began to explain Dhruva's glorious line. That's the advantage of being born in a proper family. You can refer to the precedent set by the forefathers, by your parents. She told him, remember your great-grandfather, Lord Brahma? He received the potency to create the whole material universe because he pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he got the Shakti to be the secondary creator. And then what about your grandfather, the son of Brahma, Swamijee? He performed so many yajnas, so many sacrifices to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead that his life became successful. He achieved stature that would not be possible by worshiping the demigods. He understood that by approaching the demigods, that is a completely ineffective way for progressing in life. He focused on the Supreme Personality of God. So she reminded Dhruva of his illustrious family line. And she said, you know, it may seem very ironic. It's very interesting that although my co-wife was insulting you, she actually told you something that's true. She said you should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, her conclusion was, by such devotional service, you might have a chance to take birth in her womb in the next life. But let's focus on the good that she said. She said you should worship Bhagavan. You should worship Sri Krishna. She's right. In other words, she encouraged Dhruva, take up part of Swamijee's proposition. Worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dhruva was developing ambition. All right, I can't strike back. I can't retaliate against my half-brother. I can't retaliate against my stepmother, the mother of my half-brother. But what I can do is get revenge by surpassing them in material achievement. So that's when he started to feel the desire, the need to have a kingdom greater than anyone. And remember who his family line is. Swamijee Brahma. And Dhruva wants a kingdom better than any of theirs. So we might say he's a 5-year-old boy. He has these foolish ambitions, but he was so serious about it. It's very hard for us to grasp the ambition, the material ambition of Dhruva Maharaj. Naturally, all of you want your children to be materially successful. And you encourage your children to have some vision for how their older years, when they're in their 20s and 30s and 40s, will be successful. We cannot appreciate the depths of the material ambition that Dhruva Maharaj had. I often tell the story. My mother was very ambitious. She would always ask, when I started when I was 7 years old, so what do you want to be when you grow up? What occupation? She'd have my uncles come and they would also, have you decided yet what you want to be? I'm just 7 years old. So at first, my first idea was to be a chemical engineer, because I saw that chemical engineers, especially petroleum engineers, wore those hard hats, and I was attracted to the hard hats. This looks very cool. So when they would ask me, what do you want to be? You're 7 years old now, it's time to start thinking. I want to be a chemical engineer. Very good, my boy. My mother would race to the children's bookshop and come back with a book meant for children. Your future as a chemical engineer. And then, when I was 8 or 9, naturally I changed what I thought I wanted to be. The relatives were always asking, do you still want to be a chemical engineer? Do you have any other new ideas? So at that time I was reading the New York Times. I liked to read, before the internet, the way people listed job offers in the job section. So I would look at the New York Times in the job section, and I would study all the Wall Street offerings for jobs. Investment analyst, this, banker that. So this looks very interesting. Marketing research. So the next time they asked me, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be an investment analyst. Oh, very good. Immediately my mother would race back to the children's bookshop. Come back home with a children's book, Your Future as an Investment Banker. So she was building up the ambition. She told me some advice. My dear boy, it'll sound interesting, her advice for many of you, coming from India. Her advice was, you want to be successful in life, you have to be 3 things. You have to be a scholar, you have to be an entrepreneur, and you have to be a Christian. So she was igniting the flame of ambition, but still, that's nothing compared to Dhruva Maharaj and the intense ambition he had as a result of being so insulted. He couldn't strike back, his mother ordered, can't retaliate, accept everything, all your suffering as due to your past karma. Don't wish ill on anyone, even if you think they've wronged you. So, therefore, Dhruva channeled all that impactful energy into wanting to surpass everyone. So, his mother, we discussed, his mother told him. The other lady, my co-wife, has said, right, you should approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dhruva's first response was, well, where do I find him? And his mother said, I've heard from great sages that he's found in the forest. Dhruva was gone. Gone to the forest to find the Supreme Personality of Godhead to get a greater kingdom than anyone, even Lord Brahma. Narada Muni knew what was going on. The devotee, the super excellent devotee Narada. Always acting in perfect harmony with the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart. Because as you know, the secret of success is the teamwork between the Guru and Krishna. Under the direction of the super soul. Narada Muni approached Dhruva, who was now in the forest, trying to find Vishnu. 5 years old, he had left home. That's how serious he was. So we need to remember, number one, his ambition far beyond what we would have. And number two, the intensity of his desire to find Vishnu. No question about his material desires. He was loaded. So this is very important because it shows you that having material ambition and desires is no disqualification for approaching the devotional service of Krishna. It's not recommended that we have such ferocious material desires, but it is not an impediment. fact, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Akama Sarvakama, Moksha Kama, Udalati, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Whether you are Akam, free from all material desires, Sarakam, full of material desires, or Mokshakama, you're lusty for liberation from moksha. Never mind. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, engage in Krishna's service with your mind, body, and words, and your resources. And in that way, your life will become supremely successful. So Narada Muni approached Dhruva. And the first thing he said was to himself, Aho Tejas Kshatriyana. How amazing is the spirit of these Kshatriyas. The Vedic martial administrator class. It's just amazing. He's 5 years old, yet he has reacted so strongly to being insulted. How conscious these Kshatriyas are of their prestige. As you know, it's described in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, the qualities of a Vedic administrator, martial person. Ishwar Bhava, Krishna says. They have that bhava, that emotional state of always having to be in control. And they never turn their back to any insult or challenge. Yuddhe Chakya Palayana. Always take everything right to the front. Never turn the other cheek. No. Don't tolerate anything, just, you challenge me? All right, so be it, we will fight. Never forget anything. So Narada Muni exclaimed like that. Amazing, these Kshatriyas. In other words, Narada Muni was saying, these guys are really hung up. Really hung up. And so, he began to speak to Dhruva. Why do you take this insult so seriously? You're just a 5-year-old. For a little child, whether you give him a lollipop or say something bad, it doesn't matter. Children are usually oblivious. They pay no attention, right, to someone saying, it's like, any 5-year-old kid here, and someone said, you're dumb. They give it just laugh. Whereas if someone walked up to you and said, you're dumb, what kind of temple is this? So that was Narada's first point to Dhruva. You're just 5 years old. What kind of 5-year-old kid takes an insult so seriously? But then Narada Muni went to his next point that he developed. But if you're so cognizant, if you're so aware that even though you're 5, you take an insult so seriously, then you should be smart enough to understand that insults in this world come and go. If you're that sharp, you should be able to understand the fullness of the situation. Happiness and distress come and go. In other words, you still have no reason to be hung up about what happened. Either you're too young, or you're old enough to understand that's the way the world is, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparshas tukonteya, shitoshna sukha dukkada. Happiness and distress come and go, like the winter and summer seasons. Therefore, tam satikshasva bharata. Arjuna, just tolerate. Even if you are not fully aware of how you're different from the body, and even though you may be identifying with bodily influences, just tolerate it. So Narada Muni made that point to Dhruva. And what was Dhruva's response? He heard everything Narada said with attention. In fact, Narada Muni concluded by saying, the process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramahansa Sri Krishna, is wonderful. So a real bhakti yogi accepts whatever comes his or her way. Never mind if it's seemingly happiness or seemingly distress. The real devotee is always thinking how to increase Krishna's service in such circumstances. I remember one example that Srila Prabhupada gave. He was talking about who is truly an expert businessman. Yes, we have any business persons here? Or simply engineers, IT wallas? Any business person? So, Srila Prabhupada explained, an expert businessman knows how to make a profit in any circumstance, not simply when the price is going up, but an expert businessman knows how to make a profit when the price is going down. That is the sign of true expertise. So, Narada Muni was explaining that to Dhruva. Accept the process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is wonderful. And whatever comes in the course of that process, in the course of your executing that process, whatever comes, you deal with it in a spiritual way, without being demolished by upheavals. Or don't become giddy, don't become materially happy by some material success. Keep an even, proceed in an even way, keeping your consciousness fixed on Krishna's service. And Krishna's service is meant for Krishna's pleasure. So, what was Dhruva's response? I hear what you're saying, I accept it, you are right, but I can't follow it. Maybe some of you have said such things. Yes, I know Krishna's Bhagavan. I accept Bhagavad Gita. My grandmother read me stories from Gita. But not ready to follow it right now. Or maybe you have, not you, but maybe some of your friends or relatives, you heard them say, I will serve Krishna when he wants. It is up to him. When he wants, then I will serve. So Dhruva said, I accept what Narada, what you said, but I can't follow it. You know, I'm a Kshatriya, I'm a Vedic prince. Martial consciousness, administrative consciousness. I can't retaliate, so I have to focus all those energies on material ambition. So you're right, but I can't follow it. It doesn't sit in my heart. I want a bigger kingdom than anyone ever had. I'll make everyone else look small. It's a 5-year-old boy. So Narada Muni said, all right, that's what you want. And you have to serve Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. But let me tell you, it's very difficult. This is Narada testing him. Most persons who go to the forest, even the greatest sages and yogis, they never get to the end of the process of self-realization. That's what we're worried about, right? Will we ever get to the end of this bhakti journey? Will we achieve success? Material success seems so tangible, so practical, right? Higher job level, more income, bigger house, more cars, more educational opportunities for the children. But bhakti success? How do you measure that? Right? What's the interest rate? So, in this way, Dhruva was tested by Narada. Never told him, actually you should go home, you're too young. Even the greatest rishis and sadhus, they do not achieve success. What makes you think you will? But Dhruva passed the test. He told, and even though Dhruva's motivation was material, he still wanted to follow Narada's instructions to get the darshan, the audience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he said, Narada Muni, I'm staying. Please instruct me how to find Vishnu. And so, you know what happened. Narada Muni gave him instructions, gave him a mantra to chant, and Dhruva successfully got the audience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then purified by the presence of Bhagavan. What do you think? He rejoiced. I've got it! I've got the kingdom! I am seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. I can have anything! I'll rule the universe. Now, what did he do? What a fool am I! How could I have been so crazy? I'm worshiping the one who can end the cycle of repeated birth and death, but I'm asking for things that will perpetuate that cycle. I'm a madman. I was searching for broken pieces of glass. I never knew about the greatest jewel. He condemned himself because he was purified by the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though Dhruva started with fierce and ferocious material desires. So this is a lesson for all of us. Engage in Krishna's service, and we'll all become purified. Don't delay immersion in Krishna's service because I have this material ambition, that material ambition. Embrace devotional service just as Dhruva did, and we'll become transformed. As Srila Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Krishna conscious movement is meant for all types of human beings. Whether they are full of material desires or free of all material desires, it doesn't matter. Having material desires is no bar to engaging in Krishna's service. By associating, he writes, by associating with sincere devotees, one can be purified of the material ambition, material desires. And that is the purpose of our temple community, to offer a purifying association so that anyone can come and be transformed, become different than when they first came. So this history of Dhruva Maharaj is very important. It shows you the super excellence of bhakti. And certainly, if we don't have the childish desires of Dhruva Maharaj, our progress can be quicker, but still, never mind if you have such desires. Engage in Krishna's service. Your life will be successful. All right. Any questions? This history is very powerful. The history of Dhruva Maharaj is recommended to be read again and again because it will equip you with vitality and spiritual strength, spiritual confidence. And then you'll be amazed by Dhruva's transformation when he actually achieved the result of following Narada Muni's instructions. He lamented, why did I do all that spiritual dedication just for something material? His lamentation is historic. He's feeling that way for real. And the Supreme Personality of God had asked him, What do you want, Dhruva? What did he say when his great opportunity finally came? Swamin katatasmi varangayache. Oh, Swami, Lord, I'm completely satisfied by seeing you. I don't want anything material. Is the power of the bhakti dosa. So let us gradually make progress towards that. The Bhagavatam recommends in the 10th canto, pranaya artaya diya vacha. You serve Krishna by giving your life. If you can't give your life, prana, artaya, your wealth. If you can't give your wealth, diya, your intelligence. Can't give your intelligence, vacha, give your words. And best, give all that. So somehow or other we can all plug in and engage in Krishna's service. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We can have some kirtan with us after announcements.
Your call.
No, you are the co-president.
That the three spiritual powerhouses are envisioning that there be some expansion of the spiritual center. So that vision, we have tried to put it on a piece of paper, and we have just a 3-minute presentation for you. Would you all like to see what the tentative is not etched in stone? It is just something that we would like to show to you and get your feedback on. And then hopefully there can be a team created that you all can run with it. So who would like to see this 3-minute presentation? It's only 25%. That's 50%. Okay. Is the sound working there? Kind of makes you pause for a minute and think. So, for those of you who would like a copy of that, you have to see Shastra Krit. Can you raise your hand, Shastra Krit, so we can see your Chaturbuj form? Okay, he has one arm, so that's Shastra Krit Prabhu. Please come and see him, and there's 8, so if you take one now, then Maharaj will be requested to put an autograph in that book, and you can have it. And then those of you who don't get in time to get the books, there's only 8, you contact Shastra Krit Prabhu, he will try to figure out a way to get you a book.
They are reprinting it now at the 300,000 copy level.
They are reprinting it now at the 300,000 copy level by ISKCON BBT, North American BBT. The sound is working. We start from the beginning, we do a test.
Gaura, Gaura, Nitai Gaura, 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 Nitai Gaura, 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 Nitai Gaura, Hare.
landscapes, and then there's parking on this side of the building. You may see that as of right now, it doesn't look like there is a lot of space. But when you sit with an architect, they give you lots of interesting ideas and ways to optimize the use of space. So what you just saw was a little glimpse. Idea is to have an average, there's going to be over 100 parking spaces that can fit into this property. And then we see a cultural hall in the back. Every time there is a festival or a bigger Sunday feast, we barely have room here. So this Prasadam hall that you see behind these walls, it'll be a corridor to the hall where bigger events can be held there and weekly events can be held there. So many functions. I know many of you get your daughters married, do different celebrations, and you have to go around looking for a space to rent. And most of the time, the spaces that you find to rent are not a spiritual environment. And then you have to get the prasadam from one place, rent a function space in a different location. So a lot of logistical issues that takes place. And so our objective is that we want to create a platform for all of you, that all the functions from birth to death, everything that happens in between, the grain feeding ceremony, Vidyarambha, the wedding ceremonies, everything can be done in the temple. So you can be connected to the temple. People that come to those functions, you can bring them to the temple. So basically to facilitate all your spiritual needs. That is why this whole concept has been what's the word I'm looking for? It's evolving. And we want your feedback. And whenever you get a chance, we can sit, you can contact Sukhimahiti Prabhu or me, and we would love to hear your feedback. Shastakrit Prabhu is here, Shvatashura Prabhu is here. We'd like to get your feedback and see what else you would like to see as part of this plan. What would it take for you to put your heart into this project? And what is it that you'd like to see that will make you put your heart into this project? Because as you know, no project happens, spiritual projects, it's not about money, it's really about heart. And so we want to see that you really feel it, and then if you really feel it, you desire that, Krishna will fulfill it. And that is our approach to this. So far, we haven't shown this video to anyone. I showed it to one person, and you saw him on the day with Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He was very kind. He was just so happy to see that there's going to be some restrooms. For him, all he wanted was some restrooms. We have one restroom for 300 people. And you know it, and those that have come here know it. It's very difficult. So now, he wanted restrooms, and he sees this big project coming up. He on the spot, he sent out an email that he made a major pledge to have this project, because all he wanted was bathrooms, and he got something more, just like you heard from the beautiful story of Dhruva Maharaj. He just wanted a kingdom greater than his grandfather's, and he got something way better. So all the devotees, you deserve a better facility. And so we just have to now get together and see if we can put our hearts together and make this happen. So who would like to see this happen? That didn't sound very convincing. Who would like to see this happen? Who would not like to see this happen? So it seems like all of you want to see this happen. We're going to wait till we get more feedbacks, and we're going to continue to modify this, and then we'll present you a final sketch of how the whole property will look like. And then we'll appeal to your good selves to see how we can make this happen. So please, in the next week or two, please come and see any one of these 4 devotees and please give us your feedback. There's going to be, we didn't see it on the video, big industrial kitchen in the back. So when you have weddings, you don't have to rent the Hilton, you don't have to rent the other big chain institutions that, majority of the people use for this kind of functions. We want this temple to be the place where all your spiritual needs are met. And then, also that's missing on the video is the bathrooms, because we didn't want to show it in the temple room. So that's there, and the kitchen. So those are the only 2 things that is missing. And on the 2nd floor we have classrooms. As you know, you come to the Sunday program, your children, you're concerned what will happen to them. Because they'll make some noise and someone's going to give you a dirty look and you'll walk out and you want to go home. So we have classrooms arranged to facilitate the syllabus that is used by all ISKCON temples. So a certain number of classrooms. And then we have guest facilities as well on the 2nd floor. When you come with your family, we have 4 rooms that can be utilized for guests. We have a conference room that can be used for whatever it is that you want to do, it can be done in a spiritual environment. And that is what we're trying to present with this project. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'll take 2 questions if anybody has any questions on this. Yes?
Maybe I missed it in the video. What does the temple hall look like? Because in the end,
Inside of this temple room?
Yes.
So that is the 2nd phase of the design. Because I wanted to show you, on this video, no. But this, you haven't missed it. It's going to come on the next video, what the internal designs of this temple will look like. Because there is an interior decorator, interior designer, who was involved with this project to design the inside of the temple. So you will see that in the next presentation. Yes?
Where the building you showed, where was that? Is that the lower building or the upper building?
You see this building, and then you see the building behind it.
That's all it is.
Yes. One last question.
The planning of these 3 buildings or just this?
Right now we're focusing on this building and the parking. And then we can work on other buildings as well. Okay? Thank you so much. Yes, last question. I want to make sure all your doubts are clear.
Actually, this is not regarding the temple, but I heard that this temple, the plan is very good. I was thinking about something else. Actually, we happened to go yesterday, some of it in the side, and saw beside the restaurant all are full. The people are waiting for colleges or they are going for the companies. Is apart from other people to having that kind of restaurant which people can also get benefit for prasadam, and it will be a revenue, or I can say that most of the temple, it comes to the Lakshmi to our temple.
Thank you so much. There is a plan, a full plan ready. We will definitely submit it to all of you. So, thank you so much for your patience, and we'll share this video so you can look at it again, and I hope you will spend some time to give us some constructive advice on what you would like to see modified or what you would like to see changed. And we're also looking for devotees who are willing to take some leadership role in this project, so you can also contact me for that. I'd like to request Gargi Adhikari and family to please come up and perform the Arati. Also Srinivas Kolipaka, if you are here, to please come and perform the Arati. Maharaj will lead us a nice kirtan for all of us.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada,